Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Know by Year. Today I wanted to chat about freedom from influence. So this is going to be maybe a little bit of a story time and realization video, a piece of the metamorphosis, if you will. And I'm going to be talking about the fear of judgment based on association, or the associated information that permeates society. So I think a very popular example of this kind of association embarrassment or judgment can be seen in the trend of the Stanley Cup. I know, I've seen comments even, of people who say that they are now embarrassed to own a Stanley because of the hype on social media about them, the accessories, how much of a consumerist symbol they've become, the people fighting over the limited edition colors at Target. And obviously not everybody who has a Stanley associates with these kind of behaviors. Not everybody who has one was in that rush of limited edition colors at the Targets and the trampling other people and supporting these things. But nonetheless, to have a Stanley, and perhaps some of the associated accessories, now kind of carries those connotations with it, whether we like it or not. I was expressing this to a friend the other day where I was dismayed that my brumate, which is not what I have here, but my blue water cup, similar to a Stanley, has a straw as well. It locks, which is the feature that distinguished it that made me get that one rather than a Stanley. I wasn't going to get a Stanley anyway, but even the fact that I feel compelled to tell you that I wasn't going to get a Stanley is kind of proof of what I'm talking about here. But I was sharing with this friend that I was dismayed that the brumates seem to be gaining in popularity now too, because I didn't want to be one of those people that got the popular cup, or seemed like I was following trends. And I was mildly influenced to get that cup. I was made aware of its presence through influencers on TikTok. So is it not indeed partly true that I was influenced into buying it, that I bought it because it was popular? Why am I so averse to that idea? Or why do I think it's bad to buy something because of its trendiness? Or why do I feel embarrassed to have the thing that it seems like everybody likes and has? And I don't think it's just to do with the susceptibility to influence that it suggests. I don't think I'm embarrassed of the idea of having a Stanley because I think it would signify that I was influenced to buy one. Even if for some products it kind of does signify that. You know, the Nordgreen watch I wouldn't have bought if I wasn't directly influenced to buy that. So if I wear it and somebody else knows about the sponsorships of these watches, perhaps they will think that I've been influenced to buy one. And although I don't like that idea either, I don't think that's the full answer to why I feel embarrassed by participating in trends like this. Another kind of more recent story comes to mind, although by the time of filming and editing and publishing this video, it's not going to be recent at all. But at the end of summer, I got a haircut that I was planning on getting for a long time. I'd just kind of been putting it off because life got in the way. And by the time I showed up on this channel with my haircut, I had already seen a couple of other influencers also have a haircut. And some of these influencers will be people that most of the viewers of my channel also watch, according to my YouTube Studio Metrics data. So the idea that viewers of my channel have already seen larger influencers go through getting a haircut and posting publicly made me feel a little bit embarrassed to show my haircut online, lest people think that I was influenced or inspired to get my haircut because this person did too. And that's not even a product, right? It's not even buying into something because somebody talked about it. It's just the idea of copying somebody like that, or being seen to have copied somebody. Now, I have shared previously on this channel that I do or had a tendency as a child and young adult to copy more often than not. However, even as a child, I don't think I liked it when people pointed out that I was a copycat. So the feeling of embarrassment or judgment about this has been a long-standing thing, even if my propensity to copy somebody has decreased the older I get. And I would in fact posit that in general, most people would not like to be called a copycat. I think there's a low level of this kind of embarrassment at the idea of being a copycat in society at large. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong on that or if I've missed some level of nuance. I'll be happy to meet you in the comments below. And this can extend to anything. This idea of being inspired by somebody can extend to almost anything in life, right? Why did I buy this shirt? Was I inspired by somebody? Why did I get the color of car that I have? Was I inspired or influenced by somebody? Even if I'm not in the online community of direct influencing, what forces in my life, what experiences have influenced me to make the choices that I've made? And it's impossible to live a life completely free from influence in this way. But I do think we can curate our influences so that we can be proud of standing behind the experiences that shape our decisions rather than embarrassed buy them. Let me try to break some of these down with more concrete examples. And again, I'm going to go back to my wardrobe because that was perhaps the biggest category of problematic overspending for me, but this can apply to really any category of consumable goods, or even inconsumable goods, even intangible styles, worldviews, ideas. This can really apply to endless avenues of our human experience. But using concrete examples within my wardrobe, when I think of a piece of clothing that I was inspired to buy, but not influenced to buy, what comes to mind, one of the first things that comes to mind, is my purple blazer. So the fact that it is a blazer, a suit top, makes it kind of an inspired or influenced purchase. I did purchase this at a time when oversized blazers were in vogue, they were trending, and I was seeing them around. I was seeing them on social media. I was on social media a lot at the time, consuming the content. I wasn't creating at the time, I was only a consumer. So my decision to purchase a blazer in the first place, one could say, was influenced rather than inspired. However, because of the time of my life, I did not have any blazers already for workwear. I did not have the occasion to wear a blazer before I started the new job that preceded my purchase of the blazer, right? So to put it in plain English, I started a new job, I didn't have a blazer, I wanted to add a blazer for workwear. So I had a need for it that was not influenced. It was a real life need, and I took the influence of the blazer and applied it to my own life by getting the lavender purple version, which was my favorite color. It still is my favorite color. And I thought about this carefully. I thought about how it could apply to the other things in my wardrobe and took my time in purchasing it. I was comparing it with different colors and different price points and talking extensively with my husband about this. He'll fondly recall the time that I spoke of nothing but blazers on our morning walks. Even now to this day, if I say I want to talk about something, he'll say, "Is it another blazer?" Because it really did occupy a big part of my mind at the time when I was forming my workwear wardrobe for the new job at the time. But I can stand behind the influence and the inspiration of that particular blazer because the whole of the purchase was not based on influence, if that makes sense. So the nature of influence maybe contributed to my desire for a blazer as a whole, but also the situations of my life were a part in that too. If I hadn't been starting a new job with a dress code that mandated collared shirts, or strongly suggested collared shirts, I would not have thought of increasing the formality of my wardrobe with something like a blazer. So not only was I seeing them online, I also had a situation in real life that kind of demanded it. And then I did not go and purchase one that I'd seen on somebody else. In fact, I'd never seen this exact brand of blazer or this color of blazer on anybody before I purchased it for myself. So the rest of the purchase was me influenced, or my life experience influenced. My color purple preference was not due to watching influencers online. It was my favorite color before I became so enmeshed in online culture. It now seems to be the color of Gen X or whatever, right? The lavender has become a very trendy color, pastel purple. But that is not something that was part of my influence in this purchase. So maybe it's not the best example because of those features, but there we are. Or maybe it is the best example because I'm not embarrassed to own this purple blazer because I was not influenced by the trendiness of the color purple to buy it. And in both scenarios, whether I was influenced or not, I still have the same purple blazer, right? I could still have the same item, whether or not I bought it because the purple was trending and because blazers were trending, or because I bought it because I needed it for a job and I like the color purple. But one of these scenarios strikes me as less embarrassing than the other. The one where it was more motivated from my own needs and my own preferences built on a life of experience versus the influence of somebody directly saying, maybe you want to buy this blazer. This is a trendy blazer. These things are going to make you look popular or whatever it is. One of those scenarios is less embarrassing for me than the other one. And I guess today's conversation is maybe exploring a little bit of why that is, or the times where I have purchased influenced things and perhaps am working to let go of some of the embarrassment associated with them now, because I am currently at a point of pursuing conscious consumerism where I don't want to arbitrarily get rid of the things that genuinely serve me, but I want to be able to evaluate these things without the baggage of unnecessary embarrassment from being influenced, but also appreciation for the times in my life where I can contrast the non-influenced experience and try to emulate this side of it going forward, the non-influence, the life experience. The movie that comes to mind is Slumdog Millionaire. Anybody seen that one? Where the premise, I guess, is this, I think it's a kid from India, maybe a teenager. I My memory is hazy, but the point is that he's on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and draws on his own life experiences to answer all of the questions. And to me, it's obviously a movie I remember, even though I saw it, I think, close to when it came out, so I might have been a teenager at the time, and I still remember it to this day, over a decade later. Something about the beauty of drawing on one's cumulative life experience to culminate in this success really spoke to me, and I think said something about the human experience at large that I like to keep in the focus of my mind, where we build upon our everyday life, and these little things that happen shape us as a person. They make us who we are, they make us unique, because nobody has lived the same life as we have. Nobody has had the same experiences. Nobody's going to think the same way as we do because they haven't lived the same life. Anyway, it is this power, this uniqueness, this value of experience, of unique experience, of irreplicable life that I wish to harness in my decisions going forward about what comes into my life and even what leaves my life to some degree. On my no-buy, the focus is what comes into my life or what's not coming into my life, and kind of setting myself up for how to make these decisions in the years to come when I'm not on a strict no-buy. And it's not a black and white dichotomy here. Even if we're influenced to purchase something, chances are we haven't been influenced by everything we've ever seen an influencer talk about. Even if in my case, I was influenced more often than I would like to admit. There are times, right, that I said no, or that I realized that my life experience was not compatible with said influenced thing. There are other times that I didn't realize this, and many of these things that I purchased from that sense of influence have already left my wardrobe, my life, my shelves, my collection of stuff. And I'm still working through some of these decisions. But I think this is another aspect of the decision process that brings more clarity, where I can look at some of my things and think, what experiences led me to this purchase, or to this attraction to this item, to this value of this thing? Is it authentic? Is it something I'm prepared to stand behind? If somebody asked me, why do you have this shirt, or whatever, you know, people don't tend to ask why you have things, but if somebody says, oh, I like your shirt, am I going to be able to say, oh, thank you, I was inspired to buy it because I really like this artist, or something like that? I'm currently looking at my collection of graphic tees down here because I just filmed a video of what I think I'm going to wear a lot in the upcoming fall-winter seasons versus what I don't think I'm going to wear. Anyway, so I can look at this shirt and say, oh yeah, I really like the artist Van Gogh. I went to the interactive art exhibit of his where they projected his works on the wall, and I actually got to go with my kids, my family. My husband surprised me, so it was a really nice time. And when I saw the shirt, I thought of that. I actually think I had the shirt before that, but you know, for example's sake, when I saw the shirt, I thought of that. Or when I see it now, even already owning it, I think of that. And the memories behind the experience are what I carry with me when I wear the shirt. So if it's a conversational time, right, and somebody says, oh, I like your shirt, I have life experience to share with them. This shirt makes me think of that, so that's why I really like wearing it. I have a story that's not, oh yeah, I saw somebody on YouTube saying they liked it or that it was cool, and then I bought it. That's an example of something I'm really not embarrassed to wear and to show my love for, to show my support of. This shirt, on the other hand, is an influence purchase. I saw several people online talking about the brand Doen, and I can't even pinpoint one influencer in particular at this time because I think there were several that mentioned this brand, and I really wanted to try it. So I found this one on eBay. It doesn't have a tag on it, and I think that's why I got it cheaper. I think it's perhaps something like a factory second or something like that, where they removed the branding of it and were able to sell it for a cheaper price. But nonetheless, it's got the stereotypical Doen shape. The material is the same. I do think it is a genuine Doen piece, despite the lack of label. But I wanted to try the brand because of influence. And even this particular pattern, right, wasn't necessarily super considered. They do a lot of florals. This brand does a lot of floral prints. I'm not the biggest floral person. I do have a couple of floral pieces, this being one of them. But as you can tell, this one's kind of a dark floral print, and it's got lilies on it, which I think are one of my husband's favorite flowers. And that's not why I bought the shirt at the time. So I can say that now, like, oh, it's my husband's favorite flower. And, you know, it's not the most common flower to have on a piece of clothing. And I'm kind of trying to make it my own and relate it to my life experience now. Things I have in my life that I value more than the value of influence on my clothing purchases. But that wasn't in the forefront of my mind when I purchased this piece, or even in the first few years of wearing this piece. I've had this for a few years now, and it's also been on the chopping block a couple of times as far as whether I should declutter it or not, because the shape of it is not the most flattering, to be honest. It's very boxy, and it's also black, and I don't wear a lot of black when I'm not performing a concert because of the associations with performing a concert. So this is kind of like a mixed feelings piece in my wardrobe. It's also printed, and I don't wear a lot of prints. It also gives me kind of Western vibes because of the nature of the print. So when I wear it with like my cowboy boots and a hat, it feels very yeehaw in a on-the-nose way. And some days I like it, some days I don't. It's kind of a hot and cold, but we're decluttering slowly this year. So watching myself in this shirt on camera is maybe gonna help me love or hate the shirt even more. But the point is, I have less of a genuine connection to this shirt than I do to my graphic t-shirt. Hence, the graphic shirts being in the collection of things I think I'll wear the most these upcoming seasons, and shirts like this being in the category of in between or leaning towards reaching for it less. And I think that is the pattern in my wardrobe in many, many cases. Not every case, because some of the influence purchases have been kind of more basic staple pieces. In fact, another one of my suspected most worn pieces is right here, which is just a blue stripe button down. Like, talk about basic. And it's the brand Djerf Avenue, which was one of my big influenced clothing purchase brands. However, while I might be embarrassed to think that somebody who knows this brand would recognize this shirt and think, oh, she knows that brand too, so that's why she bought it. That thought is genuinely embarrassing for me still to this day, but I'm not averse to owning this shirt. I don't have any problems with having a shirt like this, even having the shirt by this brand. I just have a little bit of a niggling regret or embarrassment about the way that I came across this shirt. Whereas if I'd been looking for a blue stripe button down, you know, in the collared shirt days of my work dress code, something like that, and had stumbled upon this brand because of that, or had been searching for it even and was suggested by an influencer during that time period when there was another reason clearly in my life. In fact, I have a white button-down shirt that is from the brand Power of My People, another influencer kind of promoted brand. And I bought that one during the days of teaching where I had the need for it. So the sense of embarrassment about being influenced to purchase it is much lower because of the need in my life. Whereas this one, despite it becoming one of my most worn pieces and my possibly favorite button-down shirt, there is still that sense of minor embarrassment at the way that I came across it, the way that I came to purchase it. And I'm not trying to hold on to this embarrassment, right? I'm not telling myself I should be embarrassed. I'm not saying that this feeling is serving me now in any way. I'm trying to kind of step away from that. But I do think there's some value in me sharing it with you now as far as approaching these decisions going forward and pinpointing before we buy the next thing. Is this something that I feel any sense of that embarrassment about? And maybe it's not embarrassment in your case. Maybe it's another feeling of like something less genuine than something purely built on true need in your life, as well as true experiences in your life leading up to this point. And the experiences may even include seeing it influenced, seeing it on influencers, seeing it in the trends. It's not to totally preclude trends and influencing in the culture of society from your life experience. It could be part of that. But the difference is, to what extent do these factors play in your acquisition of this next thing? And I think that's the point of this video. That's the main thesis here. And having reached the conclusion, having circled all the way back to the beginning, I might try to wrap it up here, lest the flow of this conversation continue endlessly. I would love to hear about these principles in your own life. Are there things that you can pinpoint that you purchased because you saw it somewhere, because you were influenced, because you were inspired? Is there any level of embarrassment or feeling inauthentic or comparison between the things that you know you bought because you love them versus the things that were suggested to you? I would love to hear your experience about this. And I kind of feel like this conversation is not over. So you might see a second installment of this kind of idea, especially perhaps after reading what you have to say about it. But like I said, let's consider this an opener to this kind of concept of our feelings towards authentic life experiences shaping what we acquire, what we desire, what we choose to bring in, versus the power of marketing and influencers and the less authentic ways that we choose to pursue stuff in our lives. All right, bye for now, and I will see you in the next one.